but it is a genuine pleasure to have everyone here. As you can see, we have an incredible group of panelists here. We have Ms. Sharon Schaffer, Laquanya Hagre, Dr. Eneze Obuaya, Elvis Malcolm King Matos, and Anthony Barron. So you're going to be hearing some incredible insights today from some real health and wellness experts, athletes, entrepreneurs, people who not only have lived this, but they walk it every day and are excited and honored to be speaking to all of you and giving you the insights and let you and help you along in your journeys. So we'll give it a few more minutes before we formally start, but I want to thank you all for taking the time to join.
Definitely, man. I'm excited to be here. Glad that we can get everybody here.
Well, great. With us at the top of the hour, or in a few minutes into it, I again just want to take a step back and say hi to everyone. It is again a genuine honor to be welcoming you all to the first Delores Digital Health and Wellness webinar. This is an open and candid roundtable discussion between licensed health experts, athletes, and entrepreneurs speaking on the importance of health and wellness in their careers and in their lives. My name is Austin Cooper. I'm the founder and venture director of Delores Digital. We're a digital health company that provides people with 24/7 access to health and wellness experts, letting you directly contact licensed and trained professionals for those moments in between official sessions and appointments, for when you can't and, in all honesty, don't want to go through the unfortunately too lengthy process of searching, vetting, and then waiting to speak with a pro. I started Delores because I realized my well-being was in jeopardy for the very reasons I just mentioned. And then realizing that this was an issue affecting more people than just myself and my family and friends, I, along with a group of incredible and talented human beings, made it our mission to make sure in this age of technology, no one suffers in silence because they don't have the time, dollars, access, or that necessary sense of comfort needed to contact those people who are able to help you. So today we're fortunate to be connected with experts and people who not only advocate for utilizing health and wellness every day, they walk the path and show others how to put it into real life practice. So I want to let everyone please settle in, enjoy this introductory video to Delores, and enjoy the special event that we have today. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And I hope what I just showed you who we are at Delores, what we do, and why we're doing this event. But without further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce this roundtable conversations moderator, Anthony Barron, a former collegiate football player, a philosopher of life, an active speaker and proponent of living a purposeful life, and someone who I'm extremely fortunate to be able to call a lifelong friend. So please welcome Anthony.
Hey, Austin. Well, I'm very glad to be here, very excited to be here. And I just want to thank everyone who's spending their precious time to be here, because we're going to have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. Like Austin said, my name is Anthony Barron. I'll be your moderator for this evening. I believe I'm a modern day philosopher, author, a wellness influencer, and I just want to welcome you all to this first ever Delores Digital Roundtable discussion. Like Austin mentioned earlier, this event was created to just have a real open conversation, a real open dialogue discussion between people that are in the health and wellness space, people that have all different types of backgrounds, but that can add their own unique experiences to what health and wellness means to them and as well as their careers. So I'm very fortunate to have this amazing line of panelists to be here for this first ever webinar conversation. I just want to take the time to personally thank all of them for making the time to be here, because without them, this roundtable wouldn't be as well as it's going to be. So I want to thank all the panelists for being here. And from the panelists, we'll definitely get into their individual introductions, but just to kind of let you know, you'll hear two of Dolores's professionals, as well as a brilliant entrepreneur, motivational speaker, as well as a color barrier breaking athlete and a health and wellness enthusiast. I'm very excited to be here because I know there will be plenty of valuable conversations to be had. And I know that I'll leave this discussion tonight with a lot more than I knew coming into it. So without further ado, I want to just get into introducing and meeting our panelists one by one. And we'll start off with Miss Sharon Schaffer. Oh, Sharon, I believe you're muted still.
There I go.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, I can see the rest of y'all are muted too. Prepare. Anyway, yes, I just as I was saying, I'm just happy to be here, humbled and grateful to be here as a part of a healing kind of community, to come together and to really extend our experiences, our life experiences that we're still churning through and just going on our journey and on our paths, and how we all individually find light and find healing and find our purpose. So I am Sharon Schaffer. I'm a professional actor. I'm a professional surfer. I'm a poet and an author. I'm a dog trainer as well. So I'm just sort of this eclectic kind of unicorn of a person. And, I just into health and wellness as a part of just healing my own body, my own soul, my own heart, just as a way of practicing and a way of purpose and a way of kind of living our lives and living by example is really, really what I've tried to do. So thank you, everyone.
Perfect. We're glad to have you, Sharon, and we're definitely gonna get into some of the experiences that you had. We'll move on to introducing our next panelist, Miss LaQuania Hagray. Feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. So my name is LaQuania Hagray. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in New York State. Also in the process of becoming licensed in North Carolina and Georgia. I am one of the providers with Delores. I'm very excited about that and where we're going. I am the founder of Ready Counseling Services, mental health counseling in Albany, New York. Also Capital District Clinicians of Color, where we unite all of the clinicians in the Capital District to come together and support one another, encourage one another, share resources. I am an adjunct professor at one of the colleges locally, and I'm sure I'm missing something, but the goal is to spread healing, spread love, spread hope, and optimism that change is possible, anything is possible. I'm really excited to be here with you all.
That's amazing. We're excited to have you and definitely appreciate everything that you're coming with. We'll move on to our next panelist, Mr. Elvis Malcolm King Matos. Please feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hey, it's kings and queens. How you guys doing today?
Yeah.
Doing good.
Let's get all those intros, man. My name is Elvis Matos, or otherwise known as Elvis Malcolm King Matos. I'm a motivational speaker, business owner, veteran, and mentor. My focus and my entire idea behind all of this, it obviously comes with mental health involved. I mean, everything that we do, everything that I've ever done, coming up from a young kid up to now, it's all had to do with somebody either opening a door for me or somebody being a challenge for me. Figuring those things out and deciphering were ways that I had to kind of like relearn this language for myself, and I'm just using that now, giving that knowledge and sharing that example that it can be done. You don't just have to conform to the ways that school teaches you, or the typical college route if you can't figure that part out, or your typical rap or creative route. Like, there's so many different avenues, and if we could just learn to tap in with ourselves and all the things that we go through, to include all the traumas, we could figure out something even greater. And that's really like my biggest message and my biggest like focus as to why I do everything that I do to begin with. I just want to help be an example and continue to move that ball forward for y'all, for all of us. So it's all love, man. And I appreciate you guys having me here, and I am grateful to continue to add to this conversation. So let's make it a good one, y'all.
Oh, that was amazing. I appreciate you for being here, Elvis. Most definitely. We'll move on to our final panelist, Dr. Eneze Obuaya. Feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm very, very grateful to be here. Excited. I'm Eneze Obuaya. I'm actually board certified medical doctor. Started off as an anesthesiologist, very drawn to medicine because I was born apparently a natural healer. And I wanted to save lives. That's how I ended up in anesthesia. And now I'm just doing it more on a spiritual level, more in depth on a spiritual level. I am also going to be one of the practitioners that will be on the Delores platform if you need to reach me. I do have my clinic. I see people in person and virtually at easylivingmd.com. I'm based in Houston, but again, I will be, wanting to reach more people worldwide with my voice using Delores. And what I bring with the whole health and wellness space for me, I started off with medicine, but I had my own mental, emotional breakdowns. My kid had a lot of medical issues while they were born. And that made me really turn to look deeper. And that's how I got into the whole spirituality of medicine that literally saved my life. Because at one point, I thought I was having cancer. At some point, they told me my kids were never going to be able to make it through school without medication, and they were not even 2. And so I was able to turn all that around through my own healing, their own healing. And I knew that really saving lives a lot deeper than just being in the hospital doing what I was doing. And being told that by my elders that were into more like ancient spiritual medicine that I've also studied and been certified in, as well as just things like breath work, things like mental health balancing with natural vitamins and minerals. And I got certified in a whole bunch of stuff just to be able to bridge that gap with science and spirituality and medicine. And so I'm bringing that to the space today and excited about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh no, we're more than appreciative of having you here and having you have that background in both realms. I'm definitely curious to learn a lot about how you kind of were able to mix both of those. But now that we know all of our panelists here, I would like to get into some one-on-one questions and just kind of try and learn a little bit more about not only each panelist, but kind of their experiences with health and wellness and what their respective backgrounds is. So we're going to keep the same lineup that we did with the introductions. So I'll start off with my first question for Ms. Sharon. So my question is, with you being the first African-American U.S. pro surfer, I know that was no easy feat by any means. At what point in that journey did you realize the importance of health and wellness?
Yeah, well, I think I'm realizing it more now, current day, more than ever, because I'm not a baby anymore, and so I'm in a position where I'm asking and demanding of my body and my psyche and my soul to perform on a level that I've really aged out of at this point. And so it's become super important for me now. But back in my early days in entertainment, before I'd kind of made some of these spiritual and physiological, biological changes, or even realized the importance of it, I was in Hollywood and I was just a participant, like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, that's the life I lived. And so I wasn't particularly interested in wellness at that point because I didn't really understand anything. I was still growing. I was so young. when I got into entertainment, doing stunt work and acting and things like that. So I was one of the first Black stunt women in Hollywood as well. And but again, I was just a child in a sea of all this, you know, craziness and this wonderfulness. But wellness didn't become a part of me until you go on and you sustain some injuries or you sustain more life issues and so on and so forth. So right now, segue to today, where I've developed my spirituality, I've developed my philosophical ways of dealing with. I've gotten on board with mental health treatments and things that really help me to overcome my particular biological mental health disorders and things like that. So now it's sort of become, I've morphed into this person where it is in fact my daily bread. It is what I practice every day, whether it be physical, spiritual, or a combination of everything together. So it as I've lived, as I've grown, as I've ascended to the place where I'm at now, it has increasingly become more and more part of my daily bread, how I deal with relationships, how I deal with my professionality. You know, I'm bringing healthcare, wellness, spirituality to all of those spaces as a way that I can survive, and a way that I can achieve and be the person, the full artist, the full athlete that I really, really choose to be. Do you know what I mean? And not just do the thing, but how can I reach people? How can I help people? How can I lift people up? How can I change? How can I be the change that other people can, you know, utilize and bring into their own sphere? So practices like Tai Chi Chuan go with my surfing, which is, surfing for me is very, very spiritual. You're in one with the ocean, Mother Ocean, you're enveloped. So there's something, catching a wave isn't just catching a wave to us surfers. It's this spiritual integration into the actual earth, into the universe. You have become now one with the earth. And that is really the true beauty of surfing, for example. You know, it is like a meditation in the water, in the ocean.
Oh yeah, no, that's amazing. I definitely appreciate that answer. Seems like it's been something that's kind of been a culmination of all of your experiences up until this point.
It
So
truly has.
yeah, no, it's definitely impactful. I'm gonna move next to Miss LaQuania. This question is for you, just because of your since you have such an extensive resume and background in dealing with helping people with, you know, anxiety, depression, you know, alcohol, drug abuse, and things of that nature. How do you make time for your own health and wellness, since you are giving so much to others? I'm sure it can be a pretty extensive line of work that you do. So how do you make time for yourself?
Well, there's so many things that I love to do and that I am outside of a helper, that I try to make sure that I'm embracing all of those parts of me. My family loves karaoke, and so we have karaoke nights on Wednesdays, you know, and I think I love to travel. So even now I'm in North Carolina visiting my niece. And, you know, I was in DC last week going to a concert of a musician that I love. So I try to embrace all the things that I love. And I worked from here, you know, so that it's not just the same old, same old. What I have learned is that life will teach you to sit down, to enjoy yourself, to live your life, to take care of your health, your mental health, and your physical health. Most therapists that I know come into the field with their own stuff and wanting to help heal, fix their families and themselves. And the ones that stay and grow are the ones who do that work within themselves so that they can help bring their people to a place that they've been able to come from or work through. And so definitely utilizing therapy as for myself. I believe all therapists should have therapists because we do have such heavy professions, and making sure that my life outside of work is just so phenomenal that when I come into this work, which I don't really see as work, I see as, you know, my gift. When I come in and I'm, you know, embracing my gift, I've already released that weight. And one thing that I have learned, I was taught by my grandmother I remember being really stressed out with work and wanting to be everything for everyone. And she said, you know, your problem is you're taking people's stuff and you're keeping it, and it's meant for you to take it and to release it. And so I consider myself a channel, a vessel to be poured into, and then I pour it right back out into the universe, into, you know, my ancestors, into God. Please take this, release it, guide them. I name my clients by name. I pray for them, and I try to release it from there.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm sure it takes a lot out of you. So I'm glad that you were able to share the things that you do to kind of help combat that and help make sure that, you know, LaQuania is okay at the end of the day, and
Yes.
making sure everything's well at home. So I appreciate that answer, most definitely. This next question I have is for our panelist, Mr. Elvis, Mr. King. I know that, you know, you do the motivational speaking as well as personal fitness, but your background has you were in the military, and I know that's also no easy task, no easy place to be. So I wanted to ask you about kind of that, and what did the military kind of teach you about the importance of health and wellness?
Oof. Thank you for that. And thank you for the question as well. Listen, the military, it definitely saved me in a lot of ways. It opened me up and it expounded me on a lot of different perspectives. I got to know a lot of different people from a lot of different places in life, or in a lot of different places within their own lives, so different levels and different devils that they were all going through individually. Really helped me understand that it isn't just going to be me, but it also started to help me prepare for all of those decisions that I was now making that were now becoming more on me, more my responsibility. Like, they really set it up where they trained me down, they broke me down and got me to put away all of my usual norms that you have on the outside world, on your regular, like, civilian side sector, and really reinstilled me with values that were centered around the military in and of itself, and the core values that they uh, instill in you to not only be honorable, but to also be about the people that are to your left and your right, because the way that they built this up was to be successful in places like combat, and in places that, you know, you're not going to just be in a zen type of place or situation. It's about life and death in a lot of these environments. And so I tip my hat off to a lot of these people out here as well, who either have done in the past, are now, and will in the future. It's not easy, man. The importance of mental health and just your health overall, they make that an emphasis in there, believe it or not. Like, they push you to have to be as healthy as you need to be, because that's, I'm not trying to be too I guess frank, but they want their people, their soldiers, to be at the best shape that they possibly can be. So they put us through rigorous training sessions, rigorous tests, and push us with a lot of knowledge when it comes to the food, the sleep that we get. We have to wake up at certain hours. Everything is down to a T, because they're instilling in you a level of personal responsibility and drive that you then have to carry in your everyday life or in your everyday work when you're out there for the service of the nation. Whether you're in the Army, Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard, or any of the other reserve type of positions, everything boils down to making sure that you, the individual, along with everybody around you, is at their top shape physically and mentally, because you don't want an unstable soldier on the field, and you don't want somebody who's physically incapable to take care of somebody if need be. Got, worst case situations, if need be, out of a place of danger, because that's somebody's son and daughter. So when you talk about terms of real life situations, these are some of those things that they instill in us to have to get around and really have to be fully fleshed into, if that makes any sense. So that when it comes down to the action of it, we succeed as much as we possibly can. And in the event that we don't, we understand that we put our absolute all into it. And those after effects are also things that they push us a lot to try to take care of ourselves about it. And a lot of guys don't. A lot of guys and women don't. They try to just truck it along and make it like a usual everyday hustle and bustle kind of thing. Because, you know, we all evidently, we kind of become creatures of habit. So it's easy for us to cast ourselves aside and think that what we're going through is just the norm because we're the ones going through it. When in reality, that's the very thing that we're allowing to let that next snap be the very thing that either hurts us or hurts somebody that we care about, or any number of these negative things that you really just don't want or think about in the moment until it actually happens. So it instilled in me a lot of different ways and a lot of perspectives to look at my value as a person, my value in my health, and the people that I have around me, and why I do the things that I do now for. So, you know, it gives you a well-rounded understanding of what the human experience in life really boils down to. And I could go on and on. I mean, ultimately, if I could say anything to wrap it all with, it taught me the value of what your next person to your left and your right really means. I mean, we can't do any of this stuff without each other. So it only makes sense that we take care of ourselves inside and out. And that's really like the overall core message that I took away from my time in the service, good and bad, because you get a mix of both. But for anybody that ever attempts or is ever thinking about joining, my only recommendation is don't just count yourself out because you think so in your mind. Give it a shot if you really believe that it's for you, because it's going to be for you if it is, but it's not if it's not. It's just going to be up to you to decide if you're going to be okay with that and move on to the next thing so that you can get what you actually are made for. And that could just be another experience or stepping stone. But I always recommend for people to give it a shot if they can, if they feel like it's for them. And it's a wonderful experience, but it obviously has its drawbacks and its sacrifices to come along with it. You just have to learn to, you know, power through and be responsible for not just everything else that you kind of take up. That's It's a lot, man, but it's a beautiful experience up to this point.
Most definitely, man. Well, I want to thank you for your service first and foremost, and definitely appreciate that perspective. And I'm sure you have, like you said, a lot of experiences and a lot of different just perspectives of, you know, being in there and coming out and, you know, being accustomed to modern life after being in the military. So definitely appreciate that. And we'll finish the one-on-one questions with Ms. Dr. Eneze. My question for you is because you are a natural healer. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit before. I had the pleasure of actually doing the beta Delores with you, and I actually got to talk to you for a little bit. So knowing that you have a natural spiritual background as well as being a board certified doctor, how do you find the balance between using the spiritual, natural side as well as Western medicine in helping your patients or your clients?
Right. So that question is exactly the epitome of not just my life, but on a collective scale, a lot of what's going on in the universe right now for people. In the sense that a lot of people talk about, you know, we're spirits in the physical body, but then when we start moving, we always tend to favor more of the physical body and the brain and forget what being a spirit really means. And that as we're here, we really need to honor both. It's not, okay, I'm doing this time and I'm doing this another time. It's an alignment, it's an integration that needs to happen between both. And that's what happened with my life. Being born the way I was extremely sensitive. I wasn't allowed to watch and see a lot of things that my younger siblings would be able to watch and see, because I would get so very affected and read too deeply into things, including projecting meanings into other people's lives and what I was seeing from it, with dreams and not sleeping at night. It was very intense. But I always had this urge to heal and fix people and things. And so naturally growing older, you know, your parents seeing that and doing well in school, you go into medicine. And as I'm getting into medicine, I'm going more into one side of focusing on the physical. And that's when I start seeing a lot of issues with my family, with me, telling me I need a bone marrow biopsy, I might have leukemia, I could barely function at some point in medical school, having my kids, where I had dreams that my son wasn't even going to be born alive, and he started having issues. And then my daughter, and then I had a mental breakdown at that point, like, what is going on? And I remember having dreams reminding me about a lot about my childhood and what I was here for. And I went on Google, found a metaphysical teacher, metaphysical being what is beyond what the eyes can see, the study of what we cannot see beyond, beyond the eyes. And getting into metaphysics study. And she just reminded me about all of my childhood, who I was at some point where I felt like I couldn't take being here anymore as a physical person, and attempted suicide, right? More than once. I just lost my sister a year ago to this too. So very big on the mental health stuff. But in the process of going through that, I found my healing with metaphysics, found my healing with functional medicine, and with my big focus there being the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of healing. And as I started doing that, I started relying more on my internal GPS with my intuition, what was calling to me to be included in the tools that I needed for myself and for the healing of others. And a lot of those tools involved a lot of things to do with yoga. I know Sharon talked about Tai Chi, talked about even divinations that our indigenous ancestors were very into, where ancestral trauma is real. Science is now figuring out that it gets embedded in our DNA. But when our ancestors would tell you, your healing is more, there's stuff going on with your ancestors, the doctors would be like, what you talking about, Willis? But it's real. And so being able to understand, whenever I see those things, I'm like, I want to be involved in this, because it was something that happened with me. The dreams I was having with my son was a lot of ancestral healing that needed to happen for him to come through into this life. And I had to go into that and have my spiritual elders in Africa sit me down and be like, this is your line of work too. You weren't always supposed to be in medicine. You have to not even balance it. You have to integrate it, because it's all related. People come in and say, well, I'm not healing. I've done all of this stuff. Is it an ancestral trauma? And yes, there are entities that can hang around people that need to be cleared. And so working in the field of also doing spiritual divination, doing clearing in that sense, but also recognizing the physical is also important. We came here in a physical sense for a reason. And so making sure that I do that, but I do it more naturally, where I do a lot of vitamins and minerals. And I got certified through like the Walsh practitioner classes, where we do a lot of dosing based on people's specific needs for vitamins and minerals, especially for the mental health space, right? And that works beautifully. So I found, like, when people come to see me, they leave with prescriptions for breath work. They leave with prescriptions for, you need to go barefoot grounding at least once or twice a week. You need to, yes, you need to drink your water, but you know what? You're doing a lot of blaming from the past, which is fine, but you need to transform that a little bit. They live with those types of prescriptions. Waking up in the morning, their mind's all over the place. Well, not only do you need to quit coffee and sleep well during the night, you need this specific mental exercise. I mean, I've done even to things with EFT tapping for people who have issues with the way they control like their diet and their eating. And how do I know about some of this? It's dialing into intuition. And I honestly believe us dialing into our intuition is the next step of evolution that needs to happen. We're all intuitive, and we've all at some level kind of blocked that aspect of ourselves. And because of that, we're not dialing into our own specific healing and what works specifically for us. And so I do that with people and finding that integration. What spiritual exercises do they need to do? Mental, emotional exercises, but they always need to remember that they are spirits in this physical body. When people talk about things like miracles, it's because the brain isn't involved in that. So they call it miracles. That's spiritual. That's called spiritual work. And it shouldn't be looked at as something separate. The doctor gives you a diagnosis and tells you, oh, you'll be done in 6 months, but you make it 10 years later. That's spirit defying what the doctors are saying. And so I'm doing that job of keeping those fields open when people come to see me in their healing process. And that's what I think is supposed to be happening collectively in the world, where that whole thing of you wait till you're sick, then go do this, and that's old. The way the universe is raising its vibrations right now is allowing for more of the spiritual work to really work. And that's where we're seeing a lot of things. Once you're dialed in there, you can have a lot of instantaneous healing that people talk about like it wasn't happening or was rare before. It's becoming more and more common, and it's not like unusual anymore. So, but, yeah, did I answer your question about that?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Definitely, you gave me a whole different perspective. I didn't know you could prescribe barefoot grounding or breath work. That's actually amazing. I feel like something I'm sure a lot of people benefit from. And I'm sure the prescription kind of makes them take it more serious as well. So that's definitely pretty cool. I appreciate your answer, most definitely. Since we kind of just got through the more personal, more one-on-one individual questions, I do want to shift gears and turn it to more of an open roundtable discussion, questions that everyone or anyone, whoever feels it more inclined to answer, can answer. And then we'll open it up to the crowd because I know they have a couple questions as well. But excuse me, I want to just start off with just saying, obviously, Delores Digital is a platform for anyone and everyone from all walks of life. But because we do have a all African American panelist group, I did want to ask a question more so for the Black community. And the question is just, and anyone can feel free to answer or to start it off with, but how can the community, the Black community, kind of take health and wellness a little bit more seriously? Because I feel like, from my personal experience, I feel like it usually takes something bad for us to kind of be like, okay, we need to actually, mental health matters or just, wellness matters. So are there any ideas or any ways that you all might, have of how the community can kind of take health and wellness more seriously?
Well, I guess I can start since nobody else was saying anything. But I think that my health and wellness in my own family was very instructive to me. I'm a suicide survivor, meaning my father committed suicide when I was a child. And so that was like set the tone of my life moving forward. If he had have been able to feel comfortable getting help, would he still be alive today? But a Black man back in those times, we didn't feel we had permission to go get psychotherapy, to go get help, to even get spiritual help. Because for me, the biggest fault I find in the Christian Black church is that we don't talk about our bodies. We don't talk about how to heal. People walk away with they're supposedly in church, but I don't know how much spirituality they're actually getting, in terms of really developing their spirituality, in terms of how they can pursue and work through their life issues. So for me, it still is now, it still is current. So I segue to being a child to now, and the frustration of watching my relatives die needlessly because they have no knowledge of nutrition. They have no real knowledge of spirituality. They have no knowledge of self, and they just are victims of this sick care that's practiced in this country of Western medicine, shove surgery and drugs down your throat until you succumb to your suffering and your subsequent death. And then they capitalize off of that. So I feel like so much of our community is still wrapped up in that way. I can't get through to my own relatives, but they'll go to the doctor and let them poison them to their very own death. And so this is, again, a frustration that I live with currently, day to day, all the time, trying to help those around me to have a more healthy, balanced life. I, like the good doctor here, feel like I have been blessed. I am a natural healer. I do have the ability and have accumulated such vast amounts of knowledge through these past decades that I do feel I've been blessed that I am able to heal. So I guess I would just love to see a light shined on our communities, to open up our eyes and to give permission to step away from the Western kind of toxic world that says, take this drug, now take some more drugs, still not good, okay, take some more. No wonder we're dying of COVID. No wonder we're dying of everything, because we're so full of pharmaceutical drugs and toxic sick care, as I call it, that we have no choice but to perish. And getting through is a personal issue for me right now in my life, just getting through to the people that I'm closest with, to get them to look at something a little bit different, to open their hearts and embrace something that maybe they didn't grow up with that and they weren't initially taught that, but it's a way of looking at the body as a whole. And I think that's the biggest torment to our Black and brown communities today, is that fear keeps us locked in a room of ignorance and unable to really start to really begin to love and lift up our own bodies, our own consciousness, our own practices, and to just see our lives and our body differently than this thing that just, but you're just supposed to perform, do that, do this, do that, take that drug if that doesn't work, you know. So I think that's a big problem in our community, is just knowledge and the release of fear, because fear is just stifling and keeps us, you know, just keeps us small and keeps us lacking.
No, most definitely. I appreciate it. If anyone else wants to add, feel free.
There's a drive in our communities, and that's not really like the only thing. We need to stop, as a whole, stop pretending like your small issue makes you the one factor that shouldn't matter, that shouldn't be important. You matter. Everything that you're going through matters. The way that we all grew up at this point, we all have a very familiar understanding that your emotions are your personal business, and what you go through at home stays at home.
Right.
And what's going on, if it's not under these certain subdivision contrasts, it's not as important as the next person's thing. And then a hierarchy starts to trickle down. And so you start to feel less and less appreciated because there really isn't enough time or enough means or enough resources, X, Y, and Z, and so many different things that you make an excuse to avoid dealing with yourself. And you think that you shouldn't matter because of that, because there's bigger things going on in the world. And you feed yourself this lie that somebody else, yes, may have it worse off than you, but what you're going through eventually is going to snowball into that worst thing that you're talking about someone else having. You're going to be that person if you just keep allowing the thing that's small now continue building on itself until it becomes that real problem that you evidently have to go deal and pump drugs into, like Sharon is saying. It's an entire systematic and mental game that continues to spiral you, the individual, down into the ground. That's what it's really meant for. But it starts with you having to understand that you matter enough to deal with the problem, especially in our families. And the ego that I was mentioning earlier is we think that just because we're family and that we're blood, that somehow should exempt me from having to listen to you just because I'm either older than you or not, or I'm better than you or was better than you at one point when we were growing up or wasn't, or you looked up to me or I looked up to you, or I'm your aunt or I'm your uncle or I'm your mom, dad, sister, brother. The rank needs to stop. In our communities, we make that a big issue and we don't actually do anything with that responsibility. We just use that as a cop-out to stop avoiding dealing with the actual problems our families have. And that's why we allow a lot of these issues to continue to boil over the way that they do. We need to stop pretending that this hierarchy is the way it is and it's okay when it's killing us. I heard a pattern. 3 of us in here right now lost people to suicide. I lost my cousin just last year as well, in January, not in January, but around January up to April timeframe. I lost 3 cousins, one to drug addiction, one to a car accident, one to a suicide. It stopped being normal years ago, family. It stopped being the norm, the average, it's gonna be all right, that's just how they are, a long time ago. The fact that literally almost every one of us, whenever we get together in groups, can somehow find a quicker way to ruin it than a quicker way to make it better, you need to step back and realize what's really going on internally. It's okay to be told you're out of pocket sometimes. It's okay to be dealt with out of love, out of a place of love. It's okay to have to relearn somebody you think you always knew. It's okay. But if you don't allow that to be okay, we're never going to get to the start of the core of these issues that we have our resources to help you with, that you have resources to help you with. because it is about this knowledge. But you have to be humble enough to want to take it, regardless of which one of us it's coming from anymore. Our families matter that much more now, more than ever. And it shouldn't have taken all of this to get to this point, but God willing, we're here. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. But it starts with you valuing you and stopping this ego-driven way that we live our lives in hierarchies within our families, in our diaspora. Let's get that clear.
But I'd like to piggyback on that just for a sec, because I do feel that some of our dysfunction is so rooted in our origins of this country. I think the way that we end up treating each other in our because I got a dysfunctional family for sure. The way that we treat each other in our dysfunctional family life has to do with the slave mentality of always trying to be the one, get in that house, be the light skin, so that plagues our community to this day. And it seems very frustrating that we're unable to break through that. Yes, we can on individual bases, but when we go back to our families, it's still the same way of interacting. And like, I'm sort of rejected in my family because I am different, because we were all raised the same, but I'm the only one like me. The rest of them are just doing that other life that we're talking about and not honoring their bodies and not honoring anything except the almighty dollar, and always scraping for it for who's going to get. And I just think that it's a real fundamental reason of our dysfunction, of where we come from, because until we break all that down and mentally, consciously say, okay, we're going to release that way of behaving, we still just continue to behave that way.
Remember I said we have to get rid of the statuses that we keep with each other in family, cousin, brother, sister, mother, uncle. We need to release all those breaks. Honest to God, we need to stop, because family is what you make it. Family isn't just in the blood.
Exactly.
And tons of us can attest to real people who have been there in our actual lives when it was needed versus somebody who's blood related to us.
Yeah.
Being listed. So family is going to be what we ultimately choose and create if we can start these processes like we're talking and sharing. But you make a valid point.
Yeah, I think the both of you were touching on two big topics that affect the community and affect everyone at whole. The second of which that I want us to dive even deeper in, and was actually raised by someone in the crowd who also is a therapist specializing in trauma. Joshua, I'm going to bring him on in a few seconds to have him participate too. But two things that I have also seen when speaking with people is in our community, especially, is the distrust that exists in healthcare. And we have a lot of understandable reasons for that, in looking at Tuskegee and a lot of other trials and things that have been done in the medical field that have built up systematic distrust in the program in healthcare, which makes it even harder for people to take those necessary steps. And then on top of that, those stigmas that we have attached to it as a culture, in terms of reaching out to get that care. And it's interesting to see, and I've seen it firsthand, is I'll be speaking with people, everyone, like Elvis kind of alluded to, is able to recognize in their brother or their sister or their family or their friend what they might need some support and help in. And that same thing will be delivered vice versa. But when it's time for that internal reflection and taking those steps, that's where people are very hesitant. And I mean, I'm saying people, but it's myself too. I think everyone can kind of agree. It's a lot easier to point the finger than look at the mirror, even when you know what is actually there, in taking that next step. And I think I'm not the expert on this panel like some of you all are, but that contributes to the traumas that we pass down from generation to generation and we see in each other. Because if we're not learning to deal with it, it's very easy to pass on to other people. And if I'm passing my own burdens onto you, or if I'm constantly reminding you of your burdens and not looking at the mirror, then you're building up those issues and difficulties in that other person. And so unless you're able to kind of take the moment and reflect on it in yourself, you're not going to be able to get past what your own issues are. And we're all, again, very intuitive people. And being in discomforting situations and around discomforting times, just worsens the environment and the internal pressures you feel. And I know we have a very specific question dealing with trauma that we wanted to raise here. And I'll let Anthony start to ask that, but I do also want to bring on Joshua Francis, who he's also a therapist and he practices medicine and specializes in trauma to contribute to this conversation as well.
Yeah, no, perfect. I obviously would love to have Joshua part of this conversation. The more the merrier at this point. But the question is, because we've been talking about trauma, we've been talking about trust and whatnot, and we know that we have to start accepting it. But what does that look like, accepting our traumas as a people and individually? Because a lot of Black families kind of go through different things, like from an individual level, that might have traumatic experiences for someone throughout their life. So what does that actually look like, accepting, our traumas as a people and as individuals to, move forward and to progress the culture? Because we know it's a thing, but I just want to, what does it look like?
So I was actually going to speak about that. I took some notes while we all were talking about, and it kind of went to the previous question, but I think a lot of times we invalidate our own experiences. We invalidate each other's experiences. I know personally, I've experienced, stress, real trauma, and the response from a family member being, well, people have it worse than you, right? And it's like that's not helpful at all. Like, someone may have it worse than me, but it doesn't mean that this feeling isn't very real right now. That this experience that I'm having isn't hurtful and painful to my degree, right? And to my understanding and with my experiences. So being able to validate each other's experiences, even if we don't understand it, even if we don't necessarily agree with it, even if it's like, I walked 10 miles to school and you get to catch the bus, right? That bus may be their own traumatizing experience that they're having. So moving away from the invalidation is going to be important. Normalizing our experiences, normalizing the conversation around trauma, the conversation around mental health, the conversation around our well-being, what we need to do. Anyone who knows me knows that I've been in therapy since I was 10, right? And I'm way okay sharing that because I fortunately had a mom who said, okay, you had this experience, let's go get you help. And by her doing that, it's helped to normalize therapy in my life and anyone who's connected to me, right? So anyone knows, don't call me on Thursday at 10 o'clock because I have an appointment, I'm not going to answer my phone. And even today, I spoke to a client who said that their toddler child, who, is able to speak, said, we got to go. My mom has therapy, right? And so really normalizing, it's like a doctor's appointment. It's like going to the grocery store. I had this experience. It hurt. It affected me. However it affected me, I need to go talk to someone about it. And I need to be able to normalize that in my friend conversations, in my family conversations, in my community conversations. Most of my clients know that their therapist has a therapist, like all of those kinds of things. Like, we first have to validate our experiences and then just normalize talking about it and working on it together and individually.
Right, but most Black families, or I'll just speak of mine, they are just absolutely, they're just not going to do what you just said. And so in my life, I have found that, and it's a big for my growth as well, my own peace of mind, is that I have to let others be themselves. I can only lead by example. I can only be that thing that you just said by being that example, because trying to talk them into it or trying to even prove it to them with data or just anything, I've never experienced the door being open to that. I've never personally experienced this. And I'm probably older than all y'all up in here. So I've just had a lifetime of seeing that generalizing, which isn't right, because we're all individuals here. So we're not part of that generalization that I'm just going to say, but it's just such a closed, locked mind, such a closed heart, just an inability to open, even when your life is on the line. I've watched family members not be able to make the more open, healthy choice for their loved ones because of that fear, that hold on them to have those those levels and those the validations, like they're just not hearing it, and they'd rather go to their death, they'd rather go to their grave rather than change. So I've become this person that just says, well, I'll just do what I do by example. I'll just be kind, even if you're relentlessly unkind. And I can never expect apology from you, but I'm going to kill you with kindness. So that's my way of reaching into the closed heart, the closed mind, is to lead by example, even to my own, detriment sometimes.
And I do definitely see and understand that, but I also do want to give credit to the growth that we have experienced in our communities, even by having such a forum as this, right? Like having such a platform as this to be able to come out, talk about it, look at all this beautiful melanin on our screens, right? Just talking about our experiences. So yes, there's definitely a lot of closed minds, but I'm so grateful for the ones who are opening up.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to say, like, I don't know if the questions were kind of designed that way, but for me, the answers for some of the help that we're needing about trauma, about health and wellness is things like Delores, and Delores. Because then we're here to, be able to answer these questions for people and tune people into a lot of the stuff that's going on. Was it Bob Marley that talked about emancipate yourself from mental slavery? It's time for us to do our own individual work. And I understand the inability to reach family members. And what I gleaned from my own work with that is there's somebody out there that is part of their mission and purpose to reach your family, but maybe it's not yours. And there's so many people out there that you can help, that you get to a point in your own development that you recognize that and allow your own family members go through their own process of what they're here for. Because as much as there's the collective stuff that we're all working through, everyone has their own karma that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And karmic cycles and other people outside of the family that they're going to meet with to, untie and unlock those karma cycles that they're going through. And a lot of times in the process of doing that, then their whole dharma and life purpose, as they call it, opens up more to them. And I had to recognize that with my family, and it gave me more peace. God has a different plan for each and every person. And I think as you start recognizing that for yourself, for your family, and for the collective, and it's easier once you find your own space. Like I have my elder Melodoma, so I don't know if anyone's heard about it. And he talks about God gave everyone you have a diploma when he decides you have to come down here. And this is just going to be your office. And so what are you going to do when you come down here with that diploma, and how you're going to use it? And that when you find that aspect for yourself, it's easier to see where you need to plug in, where you're going to give the most help, and where you're going to plug out. But also as you're doing your healing and your own light and vibration and energy gets stronger, the amount of work you're going to have to put in to create transformations with people gets way easier. And that's in talking again about doing your own inner work. And then talking about people and not, trivializing this emotional and mental stuff. That was my whole life. You're too sensitive. You're too this. This is not about emotions right now. And I say, this is business. This is not this. It's all of that. You cannot, karma does not differentiate business and personal. It's all in the one thing. Mm-hmm. You cannot have true success when it's not coming from a place of wellness. And that's what people need to understand. And that's why I'm very grateful for the platform Delores is providing for me to be able to do that, because I can only do so much in my little clinic here. And that's why I still stay in the healthcare field, and I still go into the hospitals, because when I then see people, I plug in and I say, did you know? And they're like, whoa. I'm like, you need to go and find this. So now I can say, go to Delores, because there's other practitioners there like that can help them too. So well, I just wanted to add that.
I just love your answer right now. I just love it, because, and I think that's what I mean by leading it by example. Acceptance of what is, what your purpose is, what you can change, what you cannot change. And then the example can be more powerful often than anything. I mean, I've just had examples last week where it's like, oh, my overwhelming kindness and generosity, they're scratching their head going, because they didn't deserve it. And they know they didn't deserve it, but yet there it was for them. And that's the way. This level of acceptance is something that is part of my journey right now. This acceptance that you can only do what you can do. Others can only hear what they want to hear when the moment is now, when it's happening. So I've cried many a tear over situations where I could not help. And I had to let those situations go. So I just love your answer right now. Like, yeah, Delores, the fact that we're here right now, that we're here healing together, bringing all of our experience and, and expertise to a platform where people who maybe are perhaps they're ready to look at something different. They're ready to make some changes and some subtle changes, and bringing in the mental, bringing in the soulfulness, bringing in the earth, the earth, how we treat the earth has a lot to do with it too, which again, our community somehow is a little bit late to that date, in terms of how we treat the earth, how we treat the universe. And so anyway, I just love your answer, Doctor.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the recognition of what we're trying to do with Delores and the platform, and getting everyone comfortable to getting the care, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, or psychological. And now we do have a question from the crowd from Kevin I do want to get to, but I also, before we switch to that, I want to get Joshua's take specifically on this, because I know this is also the area of your focus and your expertise and your practice and when you speak with people. What is your kind of view on the conversation and on trauma, and how we can overcome it?
It starts within. And from within, I say, like, find your inner peace. For me, when I found my inner peace, I had to apologize to all the people. Like, I physically called them and told them, I'm sorry for my toxicity. I'm sorry for what I did to have our relationship or friendship break apart. And having those conversations and hearing people express to me how they feel and how they felt then and how they feel now, that's a part of the growing. The whole thing, everybody is making great choices and they're saying great things. I mean, for me, I'm dealing with, my mom is gravely ill. She has cancers throughout her body. And me and my mother don't have a great relationship. But everybody is looking to me at my family as a way to, I have all the answers, when I don't. She's the mother. I'm the youngest. So finding yourself and having your boundaries, that's the most important thing, is boundaries. Your boundaries of what you can and what you can't do. And what you can't do, if somebody can't respect you for what you say, they're not meant to be in your life. And you keep going about your business, and you don't need to say nothing horrible to them. You don't need to stick to their level. No, you just continue to move on and you live your life, because if it's meant to be, it will be. The whole thing about life is about balance. You got to have the spiritual with the medical. They all come together, but you have to have balance. And achieving balance is learning to love yourself unapologetically and understanding that human beings we are all different. We're all different, and we're all going to have different perspectives. It's whether you choose to be around that kind of energy. It's really that simple. But I mean, it's simple and yet complex at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, not simple. With family, or for example, sorry to hear about your mother, but for example, with a mother, that is someone I'm completely willing to just break all boundaries, do whatever, because she's my mother. She gave me life. And so I find like I can't hold certain things against her, or I can't keep certain boundaries with my mother, because I want any good loving time with my mother while she's still here. I want it, so I'm willing to just overlook everything, because of who she is. So
Yeah.
it's very it's easier said than done, in other words.
You got to be willing to take what comes with whatever your decision becomes. If you're choosing to be closer to somebody you might not have that relationship with, it's not that you're going to be okay with, but to be aware that it comes with its repercussions. It comes with its actions and reactions. It's no different than any choice we have to make. So as far as it being difficult, it is. It's not, but it is. It's a matter of what you make that definitive perspective out of the circumstance. You got to
I'm
make
finding beauty in it right now in my life. I'm finding beauty in just saying, okay, you're going to be this way, or you're going to be, and that's okay. You keep on doing you, and I'm going to be this example of another option. So I'm finding beauty in kind of what we're talking about right now, like in my present current life, you know, just letting go, no expectations. I'm just going to be here. If you want, here I am. You know, basically, if you want my knowledge, here it is. If you want my love, here it is.
mimicking life, essentially. It doesn't need any permission from any of us every day for the sun to come up and go down, and for the winds
Exactly.
to waters to hit. There's no permission from us for that to happen. And so that concept of just being is something we all have to strive to find that balance, like he said earlier as well. Ultimately, it's going to boil down to that balance factor for every individual perspective.
Most definitely. I appreciate, man, this is amazing conversation, amazing dialogue. Joshua, appreciate you being able to hop in here and give your expertise and to give a different perspective kind of, on the fly. I do want to let you guys know we are moving into our last question, and it is going to come from one of the people in the crowd. I believe his name's Kevin. And he wanted to ask about, in terms of health and wellness, are there any morning or evening routines that are key for helping out, your health and your wellness? And again, this question is open to all of our lovely panelists, so anyone feel free to go ahead and answer.
So I can start with that, unless Joshua, you want to go ahead and start.
Ladies first.
Thank you. I try to, I have moved my career in a place where I start my day when I want to. So I like to wake up without an alarm. Whenever my body is ready, that's when I'm coming to the world today. So I do that. I take my time. Diffusers are a daily part of my life, be it peppermint and lavender or citrus, whatever is going to either help me to come up or help me to come down. Music is a part of my life. I'm very musical. I wake up with different songs in my head every day, and I listen to whatever is in my head and my heart. And then I start my day. My day typically starts around noon. Except during the semesters, and I teach. And then at night, I'm very, 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 very conscious of how I come down, right? And so leaving work, I'm typically intentional about who I spend my time with, if I spend my time with anyone, who I talk to, if I talk with anyone, because it's a time of decompression for me. Lighting is important for me, natural light, natural moonlight, and coming down intentionally. I don't use my phone after a certain time. My phone's on do not disturb a lot of the time, so that I can ground myself, right? Some of what the doctor was saying, just really do some, breathing exercises, because sometimes my mind will go. And so I'm aware of that. Okay, I'm thinking a lot. Let me do some deep breathing. Let me release this before I go to bed. Let me write this down so that it's not hindering my sleep, things like that. So very intentional in how I wake up and go to sleep.
And I can piggyback that, because that's a big thing too that comes up with people. There's many different ways of getting to make sure you wake up with a clear mind and focus, depending on your intention. Again, being intentional. And there's many ways with which you can go to sleep, depending on what's happening with you. And again, it's a very individualized process. This is where my work as a medical intuitive comes in place, because when you look at people and you see what's going on, you can immediately tell you need to learn how to really unplug before you go to bed, because you're taking all the crap that happened to sleep with you, and you're not unplugging, and you're not even having restful sleep. Or it might be as simple as the alcohol you drank that doesn't even get you into a restful phase of sleep to detox. That's part of the liver problem that you keep having. So that will then determine what can happen for you as far as your nighttime routine. Breath work for me is like standard. Breathing is life. Breathing is connection to spirit. Breathing is connection to God and to the other side. And you can use it in so many ways to help you whatever way you need to get to sleep. But again, it depends on where you are with your healing process or your developmental process. Like me now wanting to develop a certain spiritual side of me, there's certain things I put into place ritualistically or with breath work to be able to get there. And again, waking up in the morning, some people, first thing they do is running for a cup of coffee. That makes the mind run all over the place. For some people, that's actually helpful, but is it helpful for you? And so, and then that's why I tell people there's so much information overload out there that you really need to start learning how to tune into what works best for you, which is one of the things that I work on with people and say, for you, no, that's not going to work, or this is going to work. Waking up in the morning again, if you really want to get grounded within yourself, it's breath work and breathing and talking about who do I want to be today? How do I want my life to go today? And every time you feel yourself getting off kilter with that during the day, you breathe and remind yourself how you started. People harp on physical exercise and all that, and I am a very physical exercise type person. I'm there. But what's more important, especially as you age, is being more intentional with the mental, emotional exercises when you wake up, and using that same pattern even with your workout process, not just going through an auto mode. Auto mode is like, without being conscious, auto mode is something you need to eliminate in your life, okay? You need to get more intentional about everything you eat, what you feed your mind before you go to sleep at night. What are you watching? When do you need to disconnect and unplug from social media or whatever drama, whatever it is you're paying attention to? So again, a lot of that is dependent, and a lot of times people know what their problems are. They don't want to face, because when they come and talk to me and I say, you need to do this, well, I know, and you know, so I'm here to say, just do it. So I put that again on your prescription. Have you da 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 da? Have you da 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 da? So that's really what the morning and nighttime routine should be specific for you. But again, a lot of those healthy practices with unplugging. Drink water when you first wake up in the morning. Don't drink coffee. Don't drink, because your body is in a state where it needs to release toxins after you slept. So the first thing you want to do after you do your breath work and get up, drink some water. And anyway, that's it.
Well, I love everything I'm hearing so far. Again, I agree with LaQuania that for me, waking up in the morning is on my own terms, on my own body. I do struggle with some physical issues. I do struggle with mental health issues. So for me, and aging. So I'm definitely an aging athlete. I'm asking of my body things that there's nobody out there like me doing what I'm doing. I'm a unicorn. There's nobody that's asking their body in this gender, this ethnicity, this age, what I'm asking of my body. So for me, I really need that sleep in the morning. A lot of times I can't do things super early because it just doesn't work with my body chemistry, my body, what it's asking of me. My body wants to be sound asleep at 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the morning. That's what's good for me. That works for me. And then, like you say, what you're feeding, I have extreme chemical and sensitivities and food allergies. I'm extreme. I'm like 100. Okay. So everything I eat, I'm conscious about everything that I put in my body, on my body, everything. Again, getting into our culture is that we use a lot of toxic stuff in our life. We use a lot of toxic things. Sometimes I can't go to a Black party. I can't go to a Latino party because it's going to be too filled with toxic perfumes and things like that make me instantly ill. Like I will lose days of my life over it. So because I'm such this unique, sensitive kind of empathic creature, I just have to do life differently than most people. So like you say, with breath work, with meditation, finding out who you really are before you start the hustle bustle of the day, like breathe in the positivity of who you want to be, how you want to impress and inform the world. What is it you want to say to the world today? So I breathe, it helps me get to sleep. It helps me wake up. It just helps me connect with God and the universe. Is just the breath work, the meditation, the intention, the purposefulness. So I love everyone here. I love what you guys are saying because it's so on the right path that we're trying to open up. And again, be these kind of vessels, these examples because we're just out there trying to do it ourselves. Nobody here is perfect. Nobody here is getting it right every day. That's for dang sure. I'll tell you that right now. But we know what we're attempting every single day. And the same with night, bringing it down. I'm lacking some things in my life that I feel humans need, humans want, I'm single. I lack a lot of human affection. I lack a lot of things that I feel like as humans, as animals, we need. And so how do I supply that to myself, which hasn't been supplied to me in the form of a partner or a child? I don't even have my dog anymore. He went and left me, you know? So yeah, just this conscious, you know, meditation and breathing in what it is we want and how we're going to explore our bodies and how we're going to explore our souls and our minds. How are we going to be a little bit better than we were yesterday? That's really my goal. When I'm waking up in the morning, how can I do this day?
Reaffirmations, guys. Reaffirmations of your self-love, reaffirmations of the self-awareness to have self-love, reaffirmations to let yourself know that you're worthy. You woke up another day. You not only woke up another day, but it's another day for another opportunity. And we don't take that and sit on that and value that in the actual miracle that it is. I mean, if you really think about it, none of us were really supposed to be born if we're betting on the real factor of life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
a billion shot for every single one of us to be here. So that in and of itself is like a miraculous event, like that just transpired and is continuously growing and happening. Take accountability of that. Don't just awe-inspire yourself into things, but do realize the gravity of what it is to be you in this time, in this place, in this now, good and bad. None of it is gonna just keep you where you're at unless you choose to. Everything is gonna continue pushing you, whether you're going forward or backwards. It's just a matter of what you're valuing yourself out of that situation, what you're valuing yourself like. So in the mornings, reaffirmations. It doesn't even matter if it sounds ridiculous. Make it sound ridiculous. We watch boxes. We're looking at each other through screens right now. Let's not play these games that ridiculousness is somehow a thing anymore. Stop pretending like this embarrassing thing that you know you have to do for your well-being and sanity should be this thing that you hide. Stop pretending. Stop living inside this closeted place of standards because of what the world used to be at one point. That's not helping your mornings. It's not helping you with your gut. It's not helping you with your foods. It's not helping you with your mental and all of these different things that we continue to try to elevate. All of that starts off with you having the thought, and you can't have the thought if you're not feeding the thought. That's why the food matters. That's why the sleep matters. So self-care and self-awareness in the practice of that is what I take care of myself like every morning. If I don't get all of the hours I want out of my sleep, I'm not just making it like the rest of my day is ruined. No, I'm looking for, the military used to do this thing where they had you hunt the good stuff. And so everywhere that I look and every moment that I have, I look at the little things that I do have going for me. Yes, I might have been homeless 3 times, but at the very least I had a place that I could put my head to sleep so
Well,
that I
you've
could
just
wake.
reminded me of hashtag gratitude.
Hashtag gratitude.
Is would be my number one answer, and I'm piggybacking off of you, Elvis, that with every breath work, with every meditation, with every prayer, I'm trying to remind myself, even on the worst of times, which I've kind of been in the worst of times this past week or so, what can I be grateful for? And breathe into that goodness and that gift. So now it can cycle through me and I can give it out now. And so that's a big part of my breath work, my meditation, is just breathing in gratitude.
Reaffirmation, gratitude.
So thank you, Elvis.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. I know we're a little over time, so Joshua, and you're here. I want to let you also get the opportunity. Let us know what your routine is, and Anthony, before we bring this to a close. But I want to be courteous to everyone's time. But then again, thank you all for being a part of this and for everyone for staying long because this is a great conversation. But Joshua, please, let us hear from you.
No, for me, I've made a thing ever since I was a child. I've meditated, but I've become even better as I've gotten older, is the intentionality to meditate before I go to sleep and then meditate when I wake up. It's the gratefulness and it's the reaffirmations of what he was talking about. It's making sure that you showing yourself appreciation and not devaluing that it takes so much to wake up every day. It takes so much to go through this crazy thing we call life and do it consistently every day. And every day is different with different challenges. It's meditation for me has really helped me love myself, really pay attention to the intentionality of just not having to worry about who's going to think about this and none of that, just focusing truly on myself, because if you can't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. And that's just the facts.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I definitely feel that meditation has been major for me as well. I like to start my mornings off. I'm an early riser though. I do like to start my mornings off pretty early, but I do like to get active. I like to get a nice sweat in, whether it's running or working out. And then I like to come back and engage in some type of reading. I love reading. I read a lot of books, so I try and activate like my mind, body, soul. So I like to work out, come back, shower, read for a little bit, eat probably like some fruits or something that's gonna kind of give me energy for the day. Nothing too sugary. Well, I mean, fruits are sugary, but like in a good way, but like nothing too like artificial. And then just kind of, make the to-do list and kind of get to it. I definitely do like meditating. I don't necessarily do it as soon as I wake up, but I definitely make time for it after I kind of get into my day, after I get into, just what I kind of have to do. I like to take, like walks, just, with the phone at home, mid throughout the day, just so I can kind of, have that clarity and kind of clear space so I can, just make time for myself. Since, I am kind of just hustling and bustling around and whatnot. But in the mornings, I do find that like I said, I like rising early because I like the time where no one's out in the streets, no one's out and about. There's no cars going, there's no, that outside noise that we're kind of, we're just so used to. So I like kind of having that peace and quiet in the morning, like where I can go and get active and come back, read, eat some fruit, and just, get the day started and bring in just good energy and good vibes to carry throughout the day.
And can I, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, please. I was gonna start to draw to conclusion, so please, I want to hear.
I was just gonna add one more thing as the first Black professional surfer, that surfing, Mother Ocean, it's my church. And it makes me emotional right now to share that with everyone, because being in the ocean, there's a blessing. God is in the ocean, and God is the ocean, and it's our mother, and she loves us all. And to get out there and to be part of that, you get out a different person. You come out cleansed. I like to say that surfing is like a baptism. Every time I paddle out into the water, every time I throw my body out into the water, whatever piece of equipment I'm using, whether it be a surfboard or just my body or fins or whatever, or boating, I am renewed. I am renewed. So I would love to suggest to anyone, and that the asker of that question, that is, find something that you can resonate with spiritually. Find something that connects you to the earth, connects you to God, or whatever it is you believe in. And when you are able to express yourself in that activity, you have found a part of you that was lost. It was lost all these years. Right now, I'm working on a lot of documentaries. There's a lot of Black and brown BIPOC organizations getting people into the water, giving us our rightful place in the water, because we started in Africa surfing. You know what I mean? We were wading in the water. Here, we were wading in the water to escape the slave catchers and things like that. So we have long history of the water, which again, us as a culture, we have lost that. Somehow we've been told that we don't have the right to be in the ocean. We don't have the right. We're not able to. We're not good in the water. So I'm part of a whole movement that's changing that narrative. And so if anyone's looking for a way to physically connect to the earth, connect to the ocean, I would suggest surfing. Holla, I can hook you up.
Sharon, I would be remiss to let this moment pass without letting you know, to ask her the question. Kevin actually specifically asked me to give you his thanks and his gratitude. He's a part of the new surfing community, and says he's newbie to surfing, but your passion, your dedication, and the movement you're a part of have actually made impacts in people's life. And he specifically wanted me to express his gratitude to you.
Well, big love back at you, Kevin. I had a feeling it might be you, and that's my guy. And he's a wonderful person, educator, a strong family man. And I love that I get the opportunity to meet so many different people in my community and have relationships that I never would have had just based on, my status within the community. And it's a real blessing. And so thank you so much, Kevin, for coming through and being a part of this discussion. Just thank you for being you, and thank you for being my friend.
Thank you, everyone for being you. I don't even feel right following up my routine, just waking up, going on runs or trying to work out, and then finding time to take care of my body. Basically everything you guys are saying is what I try to do. I say try because it's not perfect. Like we said, we're not perfect beings. I don't necessarily get the meditation and the wind down at the end of the day that I try to. But when I do, I feel the difference. And making sure I move my body in the beginning. But the intent, like we said, is the most important part. And being aware of setting your intentions and trying to do it, because at the end of the day, we're not perfect, but all we can do is strive to be the best versions of ourselves. And I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation because, like as Kevin said, and we have some other people who reached out and wanted me to express the gratitude they had for everyone who has been a part of this panel, and Joshua, you for joining in and having such an impactful contribution right away. If everyone left this feeling as good as I had, then this was a success, because I think this was a beautiful dialogue. So again, I just want to thank you all for being here, and taking the time to be a part of this. At the end of the day, what Delores, where we're trying to do is push the conversation forward, push our comfort, and then give us all the ability to have access to those things. And so at the end of this, what we kind of want to do for everyone who's been a part of this and everyone who registered, we have your contact information. We're going to extend kind of a special offer to everyone. And it'll be emailed to you, so no one has to worry about trying to remember everything. But basically, to take part in Delores, 14 days free. We're going to give an entire year fully, really, really strongly discounted, 75% off for 6 months, and then 50% off after that. For everyone who's ready to take those steps to continue their health and wellness journey. You've obviously heard from Laquanya and Eneze, some of our incredible professionals, and there's even more people who are going to be a part of it. And so everyone will get sent access to this. Don't have to worry about trying to memorize the promo code. You'll even see step-by-step guide on how to actually put it into place here. But so that's going to be going out to everyone. But more importantly, I just want to take the time to, again, say thank you to everyone who's been a part of this. We need to have more of these conversations in our community and then in the greater community of humans as a whole. And so I'm proud that this was the first of many. We have some already scheduled for down the line, and some other incredible people who want to join and be a part of this panel, and even extending it even further, just to give a teaser to everyone about something that we're going to do. And I hope this group will be a part of what we're trying to bring in September, extending in and helping connect with the work, knowing that our health, our wellness, it even goes into kind of things that we deal with financially and money at the bottom line. And at the end of the day, and I'm blessed to have made a connection with this incredible advisory firm. They work with athletes predominantly, helping them transition and deal with realities of life after that athletic career has ended. And making sure they're able to not only position themselves financially, but then know the stress and anxieties that go along with it. They're called the RTB advisors, Raising the Bar. But the founder of it, Adam Barr, he's an incredible person, incredible story. Immigrated here when he was 20 years old, $300 to his name, in New York City, and had been able to turn things around and become a success. Knew no English when he came over here, and now has a published book. And so that's something that I hope this panel will follow up with, and we'll all be a part of that. But that's kind of coming, and everyone who's here will be aware of it. But not to let the light pass on what we've done with today in this conversation. This is the start of really important work and really important dialogues that need to be out there in the community. And so everyone here, not only do I want to thank you for taking the time to show up, because we say showing up is half the battle, but I think in reality it's more than half of it. Just like we say, waking up, getting out of bed and getting to whatever it is you're trying to do and get done, it's a battle in itself, especially when you know there's going to be difficulties and uncertainties along the way. And so everyone here, you've kind of taken some steps on your own, but I don't want anyone to leave here and just kind of have this knowledge for themselves. You know, like, we all need to kind of do our part too, and start having more conversations with the people around us, to help everyone else become more comfortable, more aware, and know what is out there and what they can take part in and do for themselves and for the rest of humanity, honestly. So with that, I just want to say thank you again to our wonderful panelists. Thank you, Eneze. Thank you, LaQuania. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Joshua. And thank you, Anthony. This has been a beautiful time, a beautiful event. We'll be in touch with all of you to see if there's anything we can do at Delores to help you. But thank you for also taking the time to show up and be here. And with that said, I just hope everyone has an incredible evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I loved all this. Loved all this. It was beautiful. And I hope to see and do more things with great-minded people.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good evening.